Hey, this is Zulem Urbina, and tune into the relay for the latest news in boxing all around the world. Thank you for supporting myself and other female boxers. We truly appreciate it.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Usyk versus Dubois for what are the WBA, WBO, and IBF titles. Let's talk about the fight. A fight that, for the most part, if you go back and watch it, it's fairly one-sided. It's a fairly one-sided contest where I was only really able to give Daniel one, maybe 2 rounds.
Of the 9.
Fairly one-sided fight that's being relegated to a single round and a single moment. A single punch that some think was a low blow and some think was legal.
We'll get to that.
But at the start, you noticed almost immediately that Usyk is in control by pumping out that jab, pumping out that lead hand and being busy with it.
Busy with the jab.
First clean punch that landed, the first clean punch of the whole fight was an Alexander Usyk jab from out of the southpaw stance in spite of all the talk and the buildup of the fight. And what Don Charles wanted Daniel Dubois to do, he seemed just as, if not, more tentative to me than Anthony Joshua was in his first fight with Alexander Usyk. He's not barreling forward and crowding the guy, taking chances.
Because of the jab.
And the movement, Alexander Usyk bouncing in and out of range, bouncing back and forth, in and out of striking distance.
Pumping that jab.
Rendering Daniel Dubois tentative in spite of Daniel being the bigger, younger, and longer fighter.
He was getting outworked.
Noticeable difference in speed between the two, that in spite of Daniel being bigger and younger, Usyk is still faster. Faster on his feet with faster hands.
Faster with the lead hand. He was touching him up the middle, coming around the side.
Right hooks around the side. Couple of backhands also that snapped Daniel Dubois' head back. This went on for about 4 rounds.
I had it a clean sweep in favor of Alexander Usyk after 4.
For all of Daniel and Don Charles's talk of being aggressive and roughing up Alexander Usyk, Daniel was unable to do that. He was rendered tentative the way many opponents are rendered tentative by Alexander Usyk's movement and his jab. If it were easy to just come forward and rough the guy up, that's what he would have did. That's what a lot of guys would have did.
Don't lose sight of that while people are focused on a singular round or a singular moment, a singular punch in this fight in the 5th.
Daniel was losing, and he was losing wide.
Noticeable difference in speed between the two.
Plenty of jabs landed from Alexander Usyk, which is what I expected. Daniel Dubois' defense being as leaky as it is, and him not moving his head. He just doesn't move his head.
Usyk wanted to touch him with the jab. He touched him with the jab.
Coming in at an angle to get off that punch and safely get out of the way should anything come back at him. And Daniel Dubois,
Reactionary.
second best and slow to the punch.
Very.
It was approximately 25 seconds into the 5th round when Daniel Dubois gets off that big body shot to some, that big low blow to others.
All depends on who you ask.
Referee Louis Pabon ruled it a low blow, immediately gave Alexander Usyk an extended amount of time to recover, as is customary in these situations. I believe they give you about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes if you want them. 5 if it's ruled a low blow, and that's what Louis Pabon ruled it. He ruled it a low blow, made the judgment call in real time, made the judgment call in a split second.
Usyk was agonizing on the floor, struggling to regain his composure, struggling to get back on his feet.
In spite of the controversy being stirred up, my initial reaction to the punch was it did look low. It looked like it sailed a bit below the belt line or borderline, but
some people will tell you different. Some people will tell you, no, it was a legal punch, it was a legal shot, and by all rights, it should have been ruled a knockdown.
It's important to note that during the broadcast, the viewers at home didn't have the best vantage point of the punch and where it landed because Usyk's back was facing the camera.
Those who came to the conclusion that the punch was a legal punch and not a low blow didn't arrive there until after the slow motion replay.
After the fact, because during the fight, during the actual broadcast, you couldn't see where the punch went.
Usyk's back was to the camera.
The entire argument is predicated not based on what happened in real time, but based on the slow motion replay afterwards, which to many is open to interpretation. Some interpret it as a belt line shot, which should be legal, and some are saying it's a low blow because it's below the navel.
Which is neither here nor there because the ref doesn't walk over to a monitor and make the judgment call based on slow motion replay. He makes the call in real time, and from where he was sitting,
Standing, I should say, the blow looked low.
the whole thing seemed seems like a lot of hair splitting to me, but thus anyone looking for controversy is sure to find it.
You can hear Tim Bradley say it during the broadcast. It's hard to see where the punch went because Usyk's back was to the camera, but what you notice is that the punch was coming from below. It was an uppercut.
Now later on, different vantage points of the uppercut give you a better look.
Though still open to interpretation for the viewers at home, some suggesting that it's a belt line shot and that's legal, others saying that most of the glove was actually below the belt line when the punch landed, making it a low blow, that really anything below the navel is a low blow.
Seems like a lot of hair splitting to me.
In any event, Usyk eventually rises to his feet, Daniel Dubois is given a warning, and the action resumes. Daniel Dubois, feeling that the punch was a legal punch, feeling that he hurt the guy,
Tries to pick up where he left off, shows some aggression, stepping into his punches as Usyk moves lateral.
staying out of trouble, staying out of harm's way for the first couple of seconds after the action resumed, and you have to remember that there was still a lot of time left on the clock. There was still a lot of time left in the round.
Usyk didn't look happy.
Starts getting aggressive with Daniel, taking it to him, putting punches together, backing him off,
Starts backing Daniel off.
wanting his lick back.
For all the controversy stirred up about what took place in the fifth round is a round where it looks a lot like Daniel lost.
Usyk capping off that round with a well-placed backhand, a well-placed straight left hand as Daniel Dubois was retreating.
Snapped his head back.
It was back to business as usual in the sixth round. Usyk being effective with the jab, backing off Daniel Dubois, who tries for shots,
Usyk weaves under them.
coming over the top with counters and backing the bigger man off, being busy.
In the sixth,
It's important to note that in the sixth, Daniel tried for 2 body shots, 2 shots downstairs, and it did look like those shots were sailing low, but they didn't get the reaction from Usyk in the sixth that they got from him in the fifth.
with only 9 seconds left in the sixth round, Daniel gets off a nice left hook right around Usyk's elbow.
A nice, well-placed left hook just around the elbow, and it didn't get the reaction from Usyk that we saw in the fifth round.
Even though it landed flush.
In the eighth round, we saw Alexander Usyk score the first official knockdown of the fight. An interesting round, interesting knockdown. He's putting a lot of pressure on Daniel, staying with him and
Staying on him, throwing flurries.
landing them.
Daniel took a knee with just seconds left in the eighth round. You see Daniel go down, and it didn't really look like it was off a punch. It looked more like the pace was getting to him, and he wanted a break. He wanted to rest.
Towards the end of the eighth round,
Ninth round rolls around. Daniel looks lethargic.
Alexander Usyk pours it on, keeping up with and keeping on Daniel Dubois, sensing that this guy's run out of gas, gets off with a clean jab right on the kisser, right on the sweet spot. Daniel goes down, Daniel stays down, doesn't beat the count, ref waves it off, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I went with Alexander Usyk to win this fight, not just win this fight by way of knockout, because I didn't think Daniel had the ingredients to pull it off.
What was a mostly one-sided contest, mostly a one-sided affair. I could only really give Daniel one round, just one, and I think that was the sixth round.
I think.
Because boxing is in many ways more open to interpretation than some other sports, and because boxing fans are a more petulant group of people than most other sports fans, you can turn almost any molehill into a mountain.
Daniel was losing wide on the cards. He was down on the cards. He's having very little success in the fight.
I'm not going to pretend that he was, based on what happened in the fifth round. He was losing this thing.
Wasn't competitive.
The Mayris Breedis fight at cruiserweight was a far more competitive contest than this one was. Even the 2 Anthony Joshua fights.
Anthony didn't get knocked down, and he didn't get knocked out. Daniel did.
Addressing the controversy, the makeshift controversy in the fifth round is going to keep content creators busy for the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months. Now, Frank Warren addressed the quote-unquote controversy, saying he was cheated out of the victory. It hit him on the waistband. The referee got it badly wrong, badly wrong. I like Usyk, but that was a complete hometown decision. He won that fight.
Frank smells the home cooking.
And he would know a thing or two about home cooking, since it was home cooking that saw Daniel Dubois survive 3 knockdowns in the Kevin Lorena fight.
Right.
Hits the guy.
Right.
After the bell.
Go back and watch it.
Referee Howard Foster waves the fight off after the round ends, after the bell sounds.
Go back and watch it.
The entire argument that Daniel Dubois was robbed of the victory exists in a realm of hair splitting and mediocrity, because if we're sticklers for the rules,
If that's what we're gonna be, then Daniel shouldn't have never got this title shot.
you say that favorable officiating is why that wasn't ruled a knockdown, that wasn't ruled a knockout. Well, favorable officiating is the only reason Daniel is here.
Daniel got optimal consideration in the Kevin Lerena fight, and I didn't wait till yesterday to start saying that. I've been saying that.
Former WBO junior middleweight champion Liam Smith said it was low. Whether his protector is high or not, which should have been pulled at the start of the fight if Team Dubois felt it was high, it's just below the waistband,
Yeah.
Usyk milked the time he was allowed, but no one can answer whether he stays down if the ref counts it. Best way to explain to the people who aren't understanding, the referee will come into the fighters before the fight, explain the rules, then check the shorts. And in the center of the ring before the first bell, he will say if the waistband is legal or not, and he didn't say it.
To Liam Smith, it was a low blow.
Veteran boxing scribe Michael Montero agrees. Half the glove is clearly below the belt, but half is on the right on it. So it's up to the ref to decide. What I've always been told, if any part of the glove goes low, it's a low blow.
Now, once again, the call to decide whether or not it was a low blow or a legal punch was made in real time. The ref don't walk over to a monitor and make the call based on slow motion replay. He does it during the action, and during the action, he decided it was a low blow.
As did boxing scribe Mike Kopinger, who says low blow, and it wasn't even close.
I think it's all just a lot of hair splitting.
Boxing being as open to interpretation as it is, anyone looking for a controversy is sure to find it.
Yeah.
What I like to do in these situations is entertain the opposing argument. I myself don't even feel that it was a legal punch. My initial reaction to it was it looked low.
Because it was an uppercut, because during the live broadcast you saw that the punch was coming from below.
Because during the live broadcast, Usyk's back was to the camera, but what you could see is that Daniel's punch was coming from below in an upward trajectory, so my initial reaction to it was that it looked low.
Mike Kopinger says that's an unmistakable look on Usyk's face, the pain of someone who was just power punched right in the cup.
And not the delayed reaction that you more customarily see with a body shot, a well-placed body shot, like the one we saw in the Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight.
Ryan had a delayed reaction to a well-placed body shot. It was delayed, whereas Usyk's reaction was immediate.
Dan Raphael quoted Daniel Dubois saying, "I was cheated out of the victory," quote-unquote, when asked about the legit low blow that he landed. Sore loser, and he also quit.
That's what really stands out to me more than the quote-unquote controversy in the fifth. It's that Daniel gave up. Daniel quit.
Anything below the navel is classed as a low blow in boxing. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. That's the rules. Your shorts shouldn't cover your navel, because if they do, the belt can be hit. This picture says 1,000 words. Spew it once and you'll spew it again. It's also another fact, and you will notice in the image posted below
By Tony Bellew.
you can see that Alexander Usyk's navel is just above the belt line, right above it.
Still images of the punch at the point of impact suggest that the punch was well below the belly button, and anything below the belly button is a low blow.
Noting that most of Daniel Dubois' glove at the point of impact is actually below Alexander Usyk's belt line.
Below the navel.
And that anything below the navel is customarily classified as a low blow.
It's not going to convince a lot of people. A lot of people are going to believe what they want to believe, but I'm not here to tell you what they believe.
I'm not here to convince them. I can only tell you what I think. And if you want to know what I think, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, there are two scenarios here, two scenarios in play. It was either a legal punch or it wasn't. But on the predication that it wasn't, and what this really was favorable officiating.
That's what people are saying.
The ones saying that it was a legal punch and that should have been scored a knockdown.
Don't start clutching at your pearls now. You were perfectly okay with Daniel Dubois hitting Kevin Lerena after the bell and the referee subsequently waving it off.
You were okay with that. You were okay with all the consideration that Daniel Dubois got in the Kevin Lerena fight, which is what even allowed him to get here.
Tell me that show wouldn't have got waved off if it weren't a Queensbury promotion show. If that show were being promoted by somebody else, anywhere else in the world, after 3 knockdowns in just the first 2 rounds, that fight would have got waved off.
Favorable officiating is why it didn't. The same favorable officiating that allowed Daniel Dubois to land punches after the bell, after the round was over.
Don't all of a sudden become a stickler for the rules now.
Now, not everybody in boxing thinks it was a low blow. Amir Khan is of the opinion that it was never a low shot.
Josh Taylor says the same. He says it was a legal punch.
Josh Taylor says Dubois should be champion after that body shot. Definitely wasn't a low blow. Usyk didn't like it and took full advantage of the time given to recover. Did Dubois give up in there and quit, or was it just a great jab?
No, he quit.
The idea that based on that punch he landed in the 5th round, that he should be champion now, relies on the presupposition that Usyk wouldn't have got up.
That if the ref would have ruled that a legal punch and started counting, that Usyk wouldn't have beaten the count.
That he wouldn't have got up, when the truth is we don't know that. We don't know how Usyk would have reacted if the ref started counting, because he didn't start counting. He ruled it a low blow and told Usyk, take your time.
This whole argument is loser talk.
The whole thing in its entirety exists in a realm of mediocrity and hair splitting, because you got the rest of the round,
right,
and you've got the rest of the fight to capitalize on what you think you did. You know, Daniel Dubois landed other body shots after Usyk rose to his feet. They didn't have the effect on Usyk that one had.
Maybe it's because that wasn't a body shot.
Maybe.
It was below the navel.
So veteran boxing scribe Al Bernstein feels about it. He says one reason we can surmise the effect off that Dubois body punch was because it was low. All those other legal body shots he hit Usyk with before and after this did not put him down. To me, this is not even really debatable. It was low.
But people are debating it. People are contesting it. Daniel is.
I feel like I've been cheated out of a great win. I've seen it. I've looked at it, and you know, I was there. I threw the shot and I felt it land perfectly, smack into his stomach. We need to go over this and look at this properly, and you know, get justice. You know, get a rematch, get something to happen. He couldn't move. He wasn't going to make it in time. He was out. That should have been a knockout. And I think, you know, that this needs to, you know, go further. It needs to be pushed, and this wrong needs to be corrected, because I should be a world champion.
He'd like a second fight, a second crack at the apple. I don't think that he's likely to get it.
He's not.
The local commission likely won't overturn the decision based on Daniel and Frank's gripes. Perhaps they can pursue some sort of catharsis with the sanctioning bodies, the powers that be, but Usyk is probably going to be under orders soon to take on his next mandatory challenger in Croatia's own Filip Hrgovic, which will bring him back over to the matchroom side of things.
And Daniel?
Well, Daniel's going to ride this scooter until he quits in his next fight. That's what's going to happen. They're going to use this as a marketing strategy to get Daniel Dubois back out there, keep selling Daniel Dubois fights, all the while distracting people from the fact that he quit. He quit for a second time. He quit in the Joyce fight, and he quit in this one.
He quit.
Then Rafael added, let's be clear. The shot in the 5th round was 100% a low blow. Glove totally in the white below the belt line of Usyk's trunks, which were pretty low to begin with.
Advantageous vantage points. More advantageous than the one people saw in real time during the broadcast.
It's clear as day that Daniel Dubois' punch was coming from below, and the point of contention is the point of impact.
That's what everybody's arguing about, but I don't want to have to stare at Alexander Usyk's crotch for the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months with these people. That punch was clearly coming from below, which is likely why the ref...
That's why he ruled it a low blow, because of where it was coming from, the trajectory of the punch, and it was at least in part below the belt line.
Most of the glove was below the belt line.
A combination of a lack of understanding on the part of the boxing fans and some Fury fans disguised as Daniel Dubois supporters that are going to ride this scooter.
Gonna ride this wave.
Won't be long now before Tyson Fury starts talking about how it was a legal punch, how it was a legal shot, and Daniel Dubois should be unified heavyweight champion. It's not going to be long before he hops on board this train.
These people are so predictable.
For me and my money, all deflection tactics to take away from the fact that Daniel Dubois gave up in front of everybody. He quit. And if you put him in a pinch again, if he's in a tight spot, he'll quit again.
There's no getting around that.
All the attaboys in the world aren't going to change what I saw with my own two eyes.
Nope.
Things got hard. Daniel Dubois, once again, checked out.